Many people believe that ghosts haunt battlefields and forts due to the intense emotions and violent deaths that occurred in these locations. Such sites are often associated with stories of apparitions, unexplained sounds, and other paranormal phenomena. Here are 10 examples of such hauntings. At number 10, the Phantom Battle of Edgehill. The Battle of Edgehill, fought in October 1642, was one of the most famous engagements of the English Civil War, pitting the Royalists against the parliamentarian Roundheads. It was a 3-hour bloodbath involving 30,000 soldiers that yielded only death and disgrace. Not only was the combat indecisive, but the dead were cruelly robbed and abandoned on the battlefield to decompose. Unsurprisingly, the slain troops were claimed to be dissatisfied with their deaths, which were unnecessary and humiliating. By Christmas of that year, ghostly apparitions and noises began to appear. Shepherds and others passing through the area may glimpse 2 phantom armies battle in the night sky. When the king learned of the phenomenon, he ordered an official investigation. The investigators determined that the haunting was authentic, which remains the first official acknowledgement of the existence of ghosts in British history. Although Christian burial of the remains that were scattered in the vicinity reduced the hauntings, the 2 ghostly armies were supposed to reenact the war on anniversaries for nearly 100 years after the original combat. Number 9. The Alamo Ghosts. The Battle of the Alamo is one of the most renowned events of the Texas Revolution, and the missionary site that bears the battle's name has since become one of the most legendary war memorials in the United States. In addition, it is one of the most haunted places. Stories about Alamo ghosts began almost immediately after the fight, when a Mexican general dispatched to dismantle the structure claimed to have encountered 6 robed ghosts wielding blazing swords and threatening his life if he touched the site. As time passed, reports of Alamo hauntings became more varied. Some reported seeing the spirits of Texan soldiers who fought in the war, as well as strange, monstrous figures emerging from the building after hours. Perhaps the most well-known of the alleged ghosts is the so-called Alamo Sentry, an invisible ghost soldier whose thunderous footsteps patrol the building's roof on wet nights. This is an especially astounding performance for the ancient spirit, given that the Alamo did not have a walkable roof until quite recently. Number 8. Fort Pulaski. The National Park Service manages Fort Pulaski, which is located along Georgia's gorgeous Savannah River. However, it has a tragic history that contradicts its present tranquil demeanor. It used to be a Civil War jail, where over 500 Confederate officers froze and starved in their cells during the brutal winter of 1864-1865. Fort Pulaski is said to have a hostile and heavy atmosphere. There's also a stairwell with a particularly brutal history. When the fort was attacked, the wounded troops were unceremoniously put in the stairwell to die. These warriors are claimed to still haunt the staircase, striving to ascend it despite their severe injuries in order to return to the fight. Number 7. USS North Carolina. The USS North Carolina was one of the most formidable ships during World War II. It is also reported to be haunted by several beings, two of which are particularly notable. One of the prominent ghosts is a cheery presence, a young blonde man who continues to work on the ship despite his death. He's innocuous, yet mischievous. The doors and hatches he opens and closes while performing his tasks can be quite frightening to those who come upon them. There have been accounts of other similar spirits. However, they typically go about their business, performing the onboard activities they did when living. However, there is another, more sinister presence on board. Accounts of encounters with an angry, shadow-like entity that fills the room with rage and hatred, driving the unfortunate individual confronted with it fleeing in terror.
Number 6. Chickamauga Battlefield.
One of the most violent battles of the American Civil War was fought over Chattanooga, Tennessee. The primary carnage of this fight occurred on the Chickamauga battlefield. To make matters worse, the site witnessed the destruction of the Georgia Cherokees by smallpox. Today, an unassuming national park, the area nevertheless bears the scars of these horrible tragedies. Legend has it that it is one of America's most haunted places. The meadow is frequently surrounded by a mystery fog that dissipates as soon as the visitor leaves. Eerie lights and ghostly figures have been observed roaming around, along with noises of old combat. Perhaps the most terrifying apparition claimed to haunt the area is Old Green Eyes, a grotesque figure who follows a specific hill. It's a hairy beast with razor-sharp teeth and piercing green eyes. Nobody truly knows what Old Green Eyes is. Some believe it is a half-man, half-beast who is drawn to the location because of its deadly past. Others claim it's a traumatized specter whose twin brother was killed in the war.
Number 5. Major Smallman.
Major Smallman, another phantom of the English Civil War, served the king faithfully. As a result, his residence was besieged by Roundhead troops in 1645. However, the Major was not about to sit and take it. He evaded his attacker and fled on horseback. However, it is safe to assume he didn't ride off to a paradise island to live his life in style. The good Major's ghost is commonly seen in the neighborhood, both inside his old house and out in the fields, racing away on a ghostly horse. Although it's unclear what led the Major's spectre to arise, after all, he escaped, it could be related to the other ghost haunting his old house, a young girl who smiles sweetly at anybody who sees her before letting out a horrific scream.
Number 4. The Naked Legionnaire of Abbey Church.
A naked ghost is the most terrifying thing to come across in a dark alley. So, of course, such a thing is said to exist. The Bath area of Great Britain is well known for its numerous paranormal legends. Perhaps none are wilder than the naked ghost of a Roman soldier, which can occasionally be seen rushing through the passageways of Abbey Church. The ghost is claimed to be very convincing. Once, a police officer mistaken it for a real streaker and pursued it, only to have it vanish into thin air. What I'd like to know is, if it's naked, how do people know it's Roman?
Number 3. Fort Bellefontaine.
Fort Bellefontaine is an unusual military ghost, as there are no ghostly soldiers or generals to be seen. Instead, the fort is believed to be a ghostly entity, similar to a haunted house. The eerie encounters range from unexplainable events such as unusual sights and sounds to the fort's enigmatic main staircase. Pictures shot on the second step reveal a weird dark crimson haze engulfing the stairway. No natural cause for the smoke has been discovered.
Number 2, and the second of our haunted ships, the ghosts of USS Arizona.
In 1941, the battleship USS Arizona sank during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, killing the great majority of its crew. 2 decades later, a massive floating memorial was built exactly above the rusted watery tomb. Many people have reported weird occurrences after the memorial's unveiling, implying that the sailors' souls are still around. Visitors have claimed a wide range of terrifying events, including odd, hovering orbs, sounds of bombing, and even a horrifically burned ghostly shipman wandering the halls in never-ending pain. Perhaps most disturbingly, the gigantic ship beneath continues to bubble oily droplets to the surface, producing an effect similar to breathing. Sometimes, this leakage is said to form pictures of faces. If you enjoy listening to ghost stories like these, why not give us a like and consider subscribing? Number 1. Jefferson Barracks. There are many haunted castles and forts around the world, but Jefferson Barracks has had more ghost sightings than most of them combined. The barracks, a St. Louis military facility constructed in 1826, has seen nearly every military conflict that has ever occurred on U.S. soil. This has left it with some unusual scars. Jefferson Barracks' grounds contain 42 buildings, virtually all of which are reputed to be haunted. The barracks is still in service, although according to the reports, there are more dead troops than living ones. People claim the main building is haunted by a legion of spirits, including an ancient Civil War general who haunts the post commander's office, always transmitting commands. Barracks and prisons are haunted by floating apparitions, strange footsteps, and disembodied voices screaming drill orders. The hospital is haunted by ghosts dressed in Civil War uniforms, some misty specters, some lifelike enough to pass for actual people, and even speak. The powder magazine, on the other hand, is almost certainly the troops' least favorite area. The miserable individuals tasked with guarding the structure occasionally come face to face with an irate ghost guard who challenges them for their position, blood gushing from a gunshot hole in his forehead. Well, that's your lot for this week. Why not keep with the haunted battlefield theme and watch this one next?